Sri Adi Shankaracharya, in his composition Viveka Chudamani, describes the power of a Guru's grace. Swamin Namaste, Nataloka Bandho, Karunya Sindho, Patitam Bhavabdho, Mam Uddharatmiya Kataksha Drishtya, Rijvati Karunya Sudhabhivristya, he says. Very beautiful Sanskrit poetry, but more importantly, the depth of the prayer. The prayer is made by a Shishya, a sadhaka, a disciple, to the Guru. Swamin Namaste. Swami means the master. Swa means the one who abides in oneself, who has all the control over oneself. Such a person is Swami. Swamin Namaste. I bow down to you without any ego. Nataloka Bandho, because you are the friend to all those who bend before you. Who bend their heads means who surrender their ego before you. To such people you become bandhu, you become a friend, you become a relative, you become a well-wisher. Karunya Sindhu, you are the ocean of compassion. In fact, ocean also has limits, but compassion of Guru or God has no limits. So limitless compassion, boundless compassion. So you are an ocean of compassion. Patitam bhavabdhav, I have fallen. Where? Into this other ocean, not of compassion but of passion of the world. And I am unable to relieve myself from the bondage of this world, having fallen into it. So I pray to you, Mam Uddharatmiya Kataksha Drishtya. Save me. Take me out of this world. Salvage my soul. How? By just your Kataksha Drishti. Atmiya Kataksha Drishti means a personal glance of compassion. That's all I need. How the glance should be? From the corner of your eye. Kataksha means from the corner of the eye. I don't even expect you to look at me. Forget about interviews and all that. Don't even have to look at me. Just from the corner of your eye, just look, give a glance to me. That's enough for me. What kind of Rijvati Karunya Sudhabhivristya, like the raindrops that come in straight lines. Like that one straight look from the corner of your eyes is enough for me to be redeemed. And I shall be saved from this bhavabdi, from the ocean of samsara. That is good enough for me. This is such a wonderful prayer by the sadhaka, the one who truly aspires to realize the self and wants to extricate himself out of this ocean of bondage of samsara. Sincere prayer of a sadhaka is definitely blessed. But so many qualifications are there, eligibility, as the boy mentioned just now, to receive that grace. What is the eligibility? Nataloka bandho, no ego. Namaste, no ego, no I, no sense of individuality. All the idea of I, me, myself, that disappears in this idea of surrender to the Guru, to the divine. Then Guru's grace will flow towards you. But if the pot is already full, you can't fill more in it. The pot of this body or the mind is filled with I. What about me? What about myself? Or my people, my things? This me, all the time, that which fills the pot does not allow the Guru's grace to flow into that pot. It's already full. So unless that pot is emptied of all this selfishness and individuality and self-interest, even if Guru's grace is flowing in abundance, it wouldn't make any sense. Like a pot of water kept in the rain. More water cannot enter it if it's already filled with something. So the most important sadhana in the spiritual path is emptying oneself of one's own self and making space for the Guru's grace to flow in, which will fill you with the real self, which will fill you with that Swami self. And that emptying oneself of one's individuality is the whole process. So when I was talking to them about the institutions, I was mentioning that what is this institution trying to do to you? Of course, it is helping you to realize your small, simple material goals, a good education, good health, a decent job, a secure environment to live. All this is fine. These are all minor things. But what is it trying to achieve? It is trying to achieve the greater goal of making you also into a realized master, a person who abides in the self, Swami. How does that happen? By emptying you of all that which is not the self. In the sense, all that which comes in the way of achieving this. And what does this institution do? It does not allow you to have too much of individuality, too much of ego, too much of selfishness, too much of self interest, because we are always working for the betterment of somebody else. And very little time is given for us to think about our own selves. All the time we are thinking about somebody else. And this is the idea, less of self, less of self, less of self. You will become selfless someday. So every day what we do in these institutions, little steps towards that selflessness by becoming less of ourselves and more of God-like self. And that is why this is such an opportunity for everyone. Simply sitting and looking at it won't help us go anywhere. And when we seek Guru's grace also, that please grant me this, grant me that, grace is always there like sunshine. I always say grace is always there. Nobody is denied this grace. But one who deserves it experiences the blessings that come with it. That deservedness, that eligibility, that patratvam, that yogyate, that is the whole effort of a sadhaka. And what is that effort? To empty oneself of all the selfishness. The moment you become selfless, immediately grace will flow. Immediately all the good things will happen and you will proceed on this path. You will achieve what needs to be achieved. So that is why when Madhyal Narayan Bhatt started, he started on a very selfless note. He did not have anything for himself. In fact, he was born in a rich family, decently rich family, zamindars, and they had everything to themselves. He was the only son who would inherit everything. But he gave up everything for the sake of greater good of the world. And he took upon himself the task of a teacher, a small, simple village school teacher, because he thought teachers can transform the country. And through his inspiration, so many more people joined his tribe and it grew with time. And of course, for a long time, there was not much that was happening, as they always say. But suddenly, after several years, all of a sudden, everything started growing and it just keeps growing every day. And I was giving them the example of the Chinese bamboo, which stays under the earth and keeps growing for years together, maybe 5 years. It doesn't come out of the earth, it just germinates within. And on one fine day, it breaks through and grows and grows and grows. Within 5 weeks, it attains its full height of few meters. Likewise, this institution was there in the womb of time for so long, and all of a sudden, with the right time, right people, right situations, it started growing, and now it has grown to such a large size. It will keep growing. I know that because, as I mentioned, that the power of selflessness is such that it perpetuates itself. Nobody needs to do that. Yesterday, incidentally, an editor of a magazine, a Kannada newspaper, also was here, looking at everything. And thing that intrigued him the most was, how can you give it all free, and how long can you give it for? Okay, for some years, to some people, at some point in time is okay, but all the time for all people forever, how is it possible? So he asked me, how are you planning to manage and how long will you give it for free? I said, as long as there is humanity alive in the society, we will keep doing what we do for free. The day humanity dries up, people become extremely selfish and they have no interest in others' welfare, that is the end of everything. So such a day should never come. That is the reason why we keep doing what we do. When we help somebody selflessly, what are we doing? Not just we are making ourselves a better human being, at the same time, the person who is the beneficiary of this, that person is also transforming into a better human being. And then that sets in motion a perpetual movement which will further itself by impacting more people. It will transform more people. Those people will give back to the society and then they will impact more people. And that is how the circle of love will keep increasing. In fact, a spiral of love. This is the only formula. There is no other formula. There is no secret recipe, no rocket science behind what we do. Simply belief in goodness and the belief that goodness has its own power to perpetuate itself, to promote itself, to propagate itself through good people. And every time a few good people do good to some other people, they are transformed into good people. And from there, more and more and more. And this is the only way to redeem the world. So what are these institutions for? When the idea was Loka Kalyana, it was called Loka Seva Vrinda when it was instituted in 1960. None of us were there, I'm sure. At least not in the way we are today. I asked the Tyagajivis also, was anybody there amongst those who were here? None of them were a witness to that event. But today they are all beneficiaries of it, and through them it has propagated itself into the next generation, and through the next generation to the next generation. As it is said in our Upanishad, the Rishi says when the student is graduating, he gives him a discourse, Shishyanushasana, how one should behave. And then he says, one thing, Acharyaya dhanam priyamavritya prajatantum ma vyavachetsi, it says. Give Acharya what he loves, bring things that he loves, and never break this tradition or lineage of praja. Praja means the next progeny. So many people interpret as, oh, my guru is telling, go have a family, have a lot of children, and put them all in Gurukulam back. No, that is not prajatantum. That may be one way of looking at it. The real prajatantum is this Guru Shishya Parampara you should not break. You have learned from a guru, you have learned good things, pass it on to somebody who needs to learn. And that is how these institutions will grow and promote themselves. So we are already seeing the good signs. We simply do not celebrate things without a reason. When we celebrate an occasion, we do understand the importance of that occasion, also the reason for it. Today, the institution has grown in its numbers, or the number of people who have benefited from it, or the number of children who are joining as backed in this institution as teachers, administrators, professors, so many of them. I don't think any other institution around the world has that great benefit where the alumni, the beneficiaries are giving back, not anywhere else, but in the same institution by serving. Somewhere I was walking and I started this whole Shivoham thing. So a lot of people are making their little sacrifices for the greater good and to build the statue of Shiva, which is again the project that was stalled because of the COVID and all the other necessities. So a lot of people have responded from around the world, from inside the ashram. Even kids, they're collecting their pocket money. I said, where did you get the pocket and where did you got the money from? Because everything is free of charge here. So where are you getting this from? Somewhere parents would have given something, they would have saved something. I did not say anything. The idea was that this has kind of triggered this idea of selflessness. Anyway, they don't need to pay for anything, they don't need. If they have a little money saved somewhere, using for a greater cause is a learning that this institution is providing. And this is what I feel very happy about, that if we can motivate more people to be more selfless, not just that they will do good to others, that good that they do will benefit them. They will be the first beneficiaries of the good done to others. How? By becoming selfless, then Guru's grace will flow towards you. And once Guru touches, he is the philosopher's stone. His touch is whatever, golden touch. The touch will transform anything. And that touch is what this Shishya prays for in Viveka Chudamani, that please bless me with that one look of yours, one glance of yours from the corner of your eyes. May I be deserving of that. There are hundreds of people sitting in this auditorium. Thousands I meet around the world. Not that everybody gets a glance. Not that everybody gets the look of compassion. But I do know in the crowd of thousands also, the one who is deserving, they will be shining like a star in the sky, in the dark sky. And they attract my attention. The moment I see those who are pure, who are serious about their spiritual growth, who are sincere, who are selfless, they simply attract my attention. On a sunny day, let us say on the beach, all the sand, grains of sand are there. Suppose there are some diamonds scattered here and there. Would they not shine and stand out in that whole thing? Likewise, in the sand, these are diamonds which shine. And they attract Guru's vision, Guru's grace, Guru's glance. And this is how they receive this grace, and that's how they keep growing spiritually. So when we were students, we used to say, please Swami, for everything, children like they catch hold of me for small things. Please Swami, because we want something from God, right? Please God, please do this for us, God. And Bhagavan, while walking, he would return the reply saying, please Swami. And we would say, please Swami, he will say, please Swami. That is the secret of getting Guru's grace. You want God to do things for you, and you beg God, please God, do this for me. What does God say? I will do. First you please God. When God is happy with you, he will do anything for you. But to make God happy is not even very difficult. In a way, it is difficult. In a way, it is not difficult because we don't want to let go of our stupid ideas, attachments, and egos. Then God cannot be happy. But if the moment you let go of all this, God becomes very happy with you. He becomes so happy that you don't have to even ask, please, please. He himself will be drawn towards you. That is the power of a selfless devotee, and that is what everybody should strive to achieve. And all that I keep doing is just to check this, your selflessness meter, how far it has reached. And that is all that I do. All the projects are just for that, nothing else. Bhajagovindam again, Adi Shankaracharya talks about the person, one who is selfless, one who is detached. His joy is limitless. Suramandir taru moola nivasaha, Shayya bhutala ajinam vasaha, Sarvam parigraha bhoga tyagaha, Kasya sukham na karoti viragaha, he says. The one who lives under the sky as the roof, in a temple as his home, wears the bark of a tree for his clothes, and is not attached, not wanting to accumulate anything for oneself. How can such a person not be happy? Kasya sukham na karoti viragaha. To that viragi, to that detached one who has no desires whatsoever, is happy sleeping under the sky, thinking that is my home and my roof. Shayya bhutala, on ground, on earth, he sleeps. Ajinam vasaha, wears the bark of a tree for clothes. Such a person, sarva parigraha, to accumulate things, I want this, I want that also, and that also. That idea he is given up. Bhoga tyagaha, all the bhoga, whatever desires of pleasures or comforts and convenience, he's given up everything. Kasya sukham na karoti viraga, such a person of detachment, how can he not be happy, he says. Such a person should be happy. If the worldly one looks at such a person, he'll think, what a terrible life, no clothes to wear, no house to stay, no car to drive, no food to eat, what a terrible life. He will lament looking at the situation of such a viragi. But the truth is, viragi looks at these bogies and cries the same way, saying, how stupid, how much ego is that, how much of attachment is that. It is like quicksand, the more you struggle, the more you go inside. This world is like that. It doesn't help you come out of it. So, this is the idea of receiving God's grace. People think I'll get God's grace by doing pujas, archanas, and all kinds of rituals. Yes, maybe that's the beginning of the journey, because at least that time you are thinking of God and not yourself. You will get God's grace when we are doing some good to others, doing dana, tyaga, tapasya, whatever. Yes, because at least in those times you are not thinking about your own self. But unfortunately, even that we do it for selfish sake. Do this puja 1008 times, do this japa, or do this homa yaga, you will get this in return. Then everything is destroyed, because it's not selfless anymore. It's for selfish sake only. You remember God also selfish sake. God is not happy with that. But like the beginners on the spiritual path, they need a little encouragement. So God does artis. He gives some blessings, saying, okay, at least you're thinking about me, not thinking about some worldly thing for the time being. So let there be some blessings. But take you all the way? No. It just is the beginning of your journey. It is just the start. It won't take you far. If you want to go far, you have to be selfless. Anything that we do it only for the sake of the betterment of all. So should we just throw everything and now go and sleep under the sky? No. What is needed? Need is the word. Whatever is needed, that much you have. Greed should never guide us. Fear of our future, our selfishness, our attachments, they should not ever drive us to do what we do. The same editor was asking me, how do you decide? Government gives so many things free. It is not right, because so many people get it for nothing. Simply they're being given from taxpayers' money. How fair is it? How do you decide? I said, word is need. If the person is in need of something, the person deserves it. That's it. No questions asked, no calculations made. If there is a need for a child to get an education who cannot afford to get an education, by all means we should provide that child with the education. In fact, when it comes to education, there is no question of who pays, who does not pay, because our education was always available to everybody for free. That was Narayan Bhatt's vision. Give this education to rural children, inspire them, motivate them to give back to the rural societies. But in that time, whatever he could do in his capacity, he did. And now it is our responsibility to continue it. So celebration of Institution Day is not just about, resting on the laurels of the past, or we have done this already so much. Nobody does that, so we are better than everybody else. Pat our backs. No, it is to commit ourselves to do more than what has already been done, to do for more people in more ways, and that would be the motivation for us to impact more lives in more ways. And some time back there was an argument, and they said, enough of institutions, 10 institutions we open, let us not open the 11th one, it's already quite burdensome. And my argument back was that, you are the product of the 10th institution. Somebody advised me the same way at the ninth institution also. If at the ninth we had stopped, the 10th institution wouldn't have happened. You wouldn't be sitting here giving me this wisdom of not opening the 11th one. So keep quiet and do what you have got to do. That is how we keep doing things. So it's just motivated by selflessness, motivated by doing good to others, and this will make you deserving of Guru's grace. Nothing else makes us deserving of Guru's grace. Chant any number of times his name. What is he going to gain out of this? Does he need that worship and all the adoration in the first place? Does it add to any value to the Guru or to the God? No. Or you scold him and ridicule him or fight with him because you did not get what you wanted. Does it diminish his glory even by an iota? No. God is Purnamadaha Purnamidam. Purnat Purnamudachiti. He's full. He doesn't need anybody to add or to delete. It's us who need grace of that God or Guru, for which sake we must strive. And that grace is definitely the lot of those who are deserving in selflessness. So be selfless, be selfless, be selfless. That is the only thing I say. You study so that you can be useful to others, not for your own personal growth or whatever, your personal ambition. Similarly, eat correctly. Why? Because your body has to be healthy, because of which you will be able to use this body in the service of others. Everything should go back to the same final answer, that this would lead to some good to others, therefore I should do it. So do I need that extra things in my life? Do I need those extra ornaments, the watches, the phones and these cars? Ask yourself whether this is going to be of use to somebody else. Somebody, I don't want a watch because I know that watch can also be used by, but then you are late always to the class and then you are troubling everybody else. You don't know what the time is. Some people are there, these Maunavartam people are there, terrible. They suddenly get excited and say, today onwards I will be Maunam. I will not talk to anybody. And they harass people. With the cheats they'll write in those terrible doctor-like handwriting nobody can read. And for that sake, what could have been conveyed in 10 seconds, people will take a minute to understand what this man is saying. What sadhana is it? Is it selfless? My question is just at the end of it, did it help others around you? No. So then why you are doing it, my question? What kind of sadhana is this? Which God are you going to please? Here, don't talk unnecessarily. That is enough. God has given tongue to talk only, no? If he had not intended that we should use the tongue, then he wouldn't have given us a tongue and communication and speech. He's given it for a reason. Use it for the right reason. This kind of questioning you should do to yourself. Whatever you do, whether orthodox practices, rituals, or even some social service or pujas, yajnas, even studies or work at the institutions, everything should be tested against this one parameter, one yardstick. Is this leading to the good of others? Whatever I am doing today, is it with the intention to do good to others? If not, then why am I doing it at all? No, God will be happy. God is not going to be happy with adding extra flowers to his worship or offering a little more fruits. Or these are just to discipline us so that we have some seriousness about God. We don't take it too lightly. But that does not please God. What pleases God is when you look after the people of God with selflessness. So don't be selfish, whatever it might be. Not just from the wealth point of view, even from the point of view of your own personal skills, talents, knowledge. Share. That's what I say. Share with others as much as you can. You won't lose anything by sharing. You will only gain. And at the end of the final analysis, God is not going to ask you about any other things. Only one question is going to ask you is, what have you done for others while you were on earth? What good have you done to others in my name? No, I did lot of yajna yagas, pujas for you. I don't need, he'll say. That you did for your own satisfaction, for your own popularity and your own exhibitionism. I am not interested in that. Tell me what good you did to those who could not look after themselves. What help you did to anybody? Did your heart melt with compassion at the plight of others? Did your hands stretch out to serve those who really needed the help? Did your mind think of those before yourself? If yes, then you are dear to me. I am pleased with you, and I will do what is needed for you. So this is the basic fundamental value. Be selfless, and God will be happy with you. You don't have to go behind God. Please God, please God. Do not necessary. God only will come to those who pleased Him. And why? Because they have done good to others. And that is the only way you can attract God to yourself. So, whatever you do from morning till evening, please do it selflessly. Please do it for the sake of the betterment of all. Please do it for the only motivation that it will please God at the end. In the process, everybody else also will get pleased. That's what I keep telling. Draupadi had to feed Durvasa and 40 of his disciples, which was impossible. But she just fed Krishna a leaf left over from the Akshay Patra. And there, Durvasa and his disciples' stomachs got filled while they were still bathing. And they never returned to Draupadi's hut because they thought if they disrespect the hospitality of a Pativrata like Draupadi, they may get cursed. So they ran away from there. They never came to Draupadi's hut. Krishna saved her because she had pleased God. Why? Because she had offered God whatever she could and God took care of the rest. These are not just stories, these are very, very practical lessons in life. Whenever you are facing a challenge, a question of Shreyas and Prayas, what is that is good for you, what do you want versus what is good for everyone, what would be beneficial for all. Always choose the benefit of everybody over your personal benefit. And it will pay off at the end. God will take care. There is no doubt about it. So this is what this institution should promote. Loka, Seva, Vrinda, a group of people who are interested in the welfare of all, who are doing Seva to all, who are doing service to all. Loka means everybody. So this idea, this broad-mindedness should guide the institution, whether you are a professor here, teacher, a small worker, laborer, gardener, whoever it is. Please again and again remind yourself, why are you here? Not just to earn a salary, not just to do your job, not just to do it well, but you are here to do good. And at any point in time, you feel selfish, you feel person who has developed some self-interest and become self-centered, please correct that then and there. Because institutions will keep growing despite whatever it is. But you will not grow. You will stagnate then and there because you won't receive God's grace. So strive for that, to be deserving of God's grace. And definitely it is possible. It is such an opportunity. I cannot overstate the value of this opportunity. Sometimes we understand, sometimes we don't, because our limited minds are incapable of comprehending the size and magnitude of this opportunity. So I keep repeating, even at the cost of repeating myself again and again, because I want this to go into people's head that this is an opportunity which will never come back again. As I walk in the darshan, I have seen people who have left the organization. After a couple of years, they realize what the world is like. They come back, ask me, Swamiji, please, I have come back, please take me here again. So there are two again ways for me. Shreyas, Prayas, I think. Prayas is, I would love to show compassion and say come back. But Shreyas is, it's a bad example. You cannot walk in and walk out as you please from these institutions, because that sets a very bad example for the next generation. So I said, okay, come back again in another lifetime, in another opportunity. If it arises and your tapana, your tapas permits, probably you will get an opportunity to come back again. But as a policy, we have hardly taken people back. Very rarely, very, very rarely. Unless it was a very genuine reason for which the person had to leave. We said you have simply not valued the opportunity that came your way. And if you make it so easy that people can just walk in and walk out at their whims and fancies, it would only degrade the value of the institution. It will only sort of convey to the others that this is not as valuable as Swamiji says all the time about. And today, Prashanti Balmantar is one of the largest trusts in India, which spends the largest amount of money on social welfare. So this is what I say, the idea of selflessness and over importance to anybody is not necessary, including myself. Everybody is an instrument of God, and as long as we remain good instruments, God will use us for His purpose. The day we become difficult to God, we are not pleasing God, that is the day God will put you aside. That's it. And His work will go on. He'll pick up the next instrument and carry on with His work. These are basic fundamental principles of these institutions. We should never forget that. Long back, Bhagavan had told me, as long as you are selfless, this mission will keep growing. It almost put all the onus on my head. This was 10 years ago. That selflessness is the fundamental reason why this will grow. The day you become selfish, this all will stop. Not only me, it applies to everybody. So selflessness is the key, and if you have to go and check for yourself, because you only know how selfless you are. So if you have a little fear of the future, if you're anxious about what about me, what about my people, know that you are still not there. You are not that viragi who is always happy. You will be that half ragi, half bogi, half yogi, half tyagi type, which will bring its own emotions, not always happy. This freedom of the joy of freedom comes only to the absolutely detached and selfless. To everybody else, there are lower versions of it, contaminated versions, corrupted versions available. And if you are satisfied with that, then so be it. But if you really want to experience the true joy, it comes from the freedom of detachment and selflessness, because that joy is given by God to such a deserving person. So try to be deserving in these institutions, try to be selfless, try to be fearless, and try to always think whatever I do, it is to please God only. It is to make God happy. And when that happens, God's grace will manifest. Every step it will manifest in its own way. May not be the way we expect, but in its own way it will happen. So this is how these institutions are. We are all very blessed. In some way or the other, we are part of these institutions. Again, as I mentioned, count your blessings, count them again every day, because this is not given to everyone. All right. So may these institutions continue to grow. Many, many, many more children are not just in India or Karnataka, but Loka Seva. From around the world, they benefit out of these great Seva activities. May all of you develop these kind of values of selflessness and fearlessness. May you become walking, talking, moving gods in your own way, who will do so much good to the world. With these words of blessings, I will conclude.